Namaste and many blessings. This is Verdeluz from DivineTimingCoaching.com, and I'm sharing with you today my new newsletter about Mercury and Jupiter conjoining in the sign of Aquarius all week. It's a really beautiful opportunity for us to inspire each other, to activate the philosopher and the wise sage this week. So I'm going to read to you from my newsletter and take you on a journey into Mercury-Jupiter this week, and also a really beautiful conversation I had with my 8-year-old niece with these types of themes over Facebook Messenger. It was a new experience for me and really expansive for my mind and heart. So here is the newsletter. Asking the unanswerable. Mercury-Jupiter's merger in Aquarius. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Stop aspiring to be anyone other than your best self, for that does fall within your control. Stop aspiring to be anyone other than your own best self, for that does fall within your control. And that is a quote from Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher. And it's a really beautiful week to be philosophical with ourselves, our children, and our beloveds. We're invited to probe the mystery and let ourselves be asked the daunting but inspiring questions. For left and right brains merge as Mercury meets Jupiter in Aquarius. The messenger meets the planet of spiritual growth, the one who expands into vaster horizons of our heart-mind as he interrogates us about meaning, purpose, and truth. Jupiter. Om Rim Guru Nama. We love your mantra. In 2019 and 2020, I became obsessed with the pragmatic wisdom of the ancient Stoics, such as Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, leading me to offer the Return to Essence training last year, merging Stoic and Shaiva Tantra philosophy and practice. In our first class of the training, we focused on letting go of our focus, our fixations, and our projections on what the Stoics called externals. As the Epictetus quote above suggests, even in exile or even in quarantine, as a lot of us are more or less right now, one can be free if the mind and heart do not hook into the areas we cannot control. If we do this one thing, we start to loosen our grip on opinions, media, politics, and they simultaneously loosen their release and their arrows. Simultaneously, they release their arrows from us. The Stoics also invite us into an Aquarian perspective, to think cosmically on scales of time and space, the infinite and eternal, the history of the earth, the expanding universe, and thereby make relative and small the pains that beset us now. I became very aware of this in Egypt, entering the majestic grandeur and mystery of the temples and the dynasties, thousands of years of reign and instruction, unfathomable to us in our immediate gratification, constantly changing society. I also recommend that you check out Terrence Malick's Voyage of Time documentary online to help with these scales of perspective. Recently, I've been inspired by philosophy and film, and compulsively watching like stories of old on YouTube, and the work of philosopher come filmmaker Terrence Malick, whose works are discussed in relation to philosopher Martin Heidegger. So I've been reading Heidegger, most famous for his work Being and Time, and who believes that the only really worthy questions are those that are unanswerable. The only really worthy questions are those that are unanswerable. Could we pose a few unanswerable questions to our kids or lovers this week? I just posed a very Heideggerian question to my 8-year-old niece and received the most amazing response. Verdeluz. Why do you think there are all these people in the world, and animals, and trees, and toys, and food, instead of nothing? What do you think caused all these things and different beings to exist? Madeline. Well, I know God created all of the people in the world, and he made the trees, but if there was nothing in the world, then I wouldn't know what to do. No one would know what to do. Even over Facebook Messenger, we went pretty deep into creativity and play, bringing us closer to our creator. And even talked about the Big Bang Theory, her first exposure to it. She also stated, "But I always wonder who created God." Yes, was my emphatic response. I've never explored this kind of conversation with her, and I felt so alive during it, so close to the great mystery. So here's a bit more about Heidegger and the importance of this type of inquiry from scholar Michael Watts. Heidegger distinguishes between two sorts of questions. The first type, ontic questions, such as how far away is the moon from the earth, have terminal answers. Heidegger regards these as trivial, since the answer settles the question and the mind and renders it inert. There's nothing further to be gained from asking it again. The second type, ontological questions, which he views as worthy of questioning, are unanswerable and therefore inexhaustible. Heidegger regards the action of focusing on worthy questions as the path to man's homecoming to the house of being. We have become so accustomed to life that in our normal state of consciousness, we take everything for granted, says Michael Watts. But there are occasions when we may suddenly become aware of the miracle of existence. At such times, questions like, why is there something rather than nothing, may be as close as we can come to expressing the thoughts and feelings that accompany our profound realization. When Heidegger asks the question, he is revealing and expressing his awareness of the marvelous mystery of being, and he encourages us to ask the same question so that we may experience the realization for ourselves. Is there a conversation you can enter this week while the astrological energy is ripe that can pose the unanswerable and allow you, your children, your beloveds, and friends to enter the temple of mystery, to join Heidegger and come home to the house of being? So I pose that to you, my friends, this week with the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction all week in mid-Aquarius. We have Venus in Pisces. It's a really beautiful time to be in our spiritual bodies, to be asking the deep questions. If you'd like to go more into Stoicism and Indian Shaiva Tantra, I'll put the link below for Return to Essence, my training. 3 of the 7 classes are now available, and excited to share that with everyone. Have a beautiful week. Be inspired. Inspire each other. Namaste.